Jungle. Audio Jungle.
This entity wants to come in and be above the constitution, meaning that members of that political party become supreme to the Zimbabwean citizens. And they said no. And it stayed like that. The government tried to turn around and put characteristics. This is why Zimbabwe was referred to as a de facto one-party state, a de facto. Meaning that it was behaving and it started to show characteristics of. And that is locked in 1990, where the majority of ZANU came out and said no. This is when you found 1990 people turning around and campaigning for multi-democracy or multi-party system. But here we are, 2024. The same party sits and affirms the party, a principle of party supremacy. And this is the funny thing about politics. Because they understood that you and me have dealt with this before, but we've dealt with it under the name one-party state. And that is not a name that the Zimbabwean people, it's not a word that the Zimbabwean people accept. So, as political parties with political people, they come up with a different reference to the same entity, a different phrase, and they phrase it as a principle of party supremacy over government. Google what party supremacy over government is. And everything politically out here in the world turns around is very clear. That's a one-party state. That's a one-party state, whereby the state is controlled by the party. Now, in this context of where we are, the only time in the history now of the land whereby an entity, an organization, came in and put in supremacy over those natives was 1890. 1890. That was the British South African Company. The British South African Company came into that land and declared that itself as an organization and its members, its employees of that organization, and anyone that it affiliates with, deem that the people that they found there to be subhuman. To be subhuman. By doing so, create a supremacy of the British South African Company over any other groupings of people and any other organization that those people will have or had. By so doing, it put our ancestors, our relatives, under subjugation. That is how they could start to separate the laws because of the supremacy bid. And we fought for 90 years. 90 years to remove a group of people. Even when the British South African Company left, a group of people that had reminiscences of the supremacy that was established by the British South African Company. It took us 90 years to turn around and say that every Zimbabwean is equal. There is no Zimbabwean that is supreme to any other Zimbabwean. There is no Zimbabwean. This is why we put into our constitution. We, the Zimbabwean people, united in our diversity by a common desire for freedom, equality. That equality they're talking about, that main equality they're talking about, is the equality of human beings and to be judged so, and justice. 3 elements. Because when it came in, it put in supremacy, and the moment it put in supremacy, everyone who is underneath you, you subjugate. Now we have to understand what supremacy is. This is why it's such a dangerous word. It is not dangerous only because we interact with it from white supremacy. No. You and me, when we are kumusha, we are supreme to our chickens. This is why you can go and take the eggs of the chickens without care of questioning the chicken or asking the chicken whether you can eat its young. And you take it and you make eggs and make scrambled eggs. This is why me and you can go to the cow and milk it without asking it. Because why? We are supreme to it. It is our property. This is why you and me, when we turn around and go there, or when we used to go there when we were young, Mbuti can be just brought and slaughtered. Because at that moment in time, we are supreme to these entities. And the argument here is not to make chicken equal to you. No, it is to show you what supremacy is. And supremacy does not care of how you feel. It does not care what you say, because it has ascertained itself. And when it ascertains itself as supreme, anything that is not itself is nothing. It cannot have and stand in as its equal. It cannot be judged. They cannot be judged with you. So when ZANU turns around and says, this is what I was saying earlier on, that we read the resolution without putting in implementation. So in politics, especially of ZANU-PF or politics of any political party, but in politics in general. When you write the resolution, there is a hierarchy in writing, meaning that if you are going to speak about the president of the party, is a resolution like what Zanu did, because he spoke about it being the first secretary of ZANU PF as a fact, and the president of Zimbabwe fact, and the extension from 2028 to 2030, because it speaks about that person. Therefore, that should be in political mind as the first resolution. And then every other resolution comes underneath that. Yeah. Now, but in function, resolution number 1 in function is resolution number 2. And in function, resolution number 2 is the first thing to be implemented so that resolution number 2, that is resolution number 2, that on paper is resolution number 1, the extension of term, becomes the second thing. This is why when you read resolution number 2, it says that the party should instruct the government. The party has no power. This is why people were confused in 2024. Because if you go back to the arguments in 2024, people were arguing that that's just party resolution. It has no effect to government. Because we did not put in play resolution number 2. That in function is resolution number 1. Party supremacy over government, meaning that now party can instruct the government without, there is no bridge that we have created as people of Zimbabwe that instructs a voluntary organization can instruct an amendment of the constitution without care of the safety mechanisms that are already in the governance or in the government. That can only happen when resolution number 2 is already at play. And others will say, how? What law did resolution number 2 come in? You are watching it. You are watching it. How did resolution number 1 come in? Or amendment number 3 come in? How did it come in?
When government was instructed.
Yes, that means now resolution number 2 is already at play, because resolution number 2 plays on only when you see it at work. Resolution number 2 is like air. You cannot see it. You can only feel its presence. And here now is the most damning of resolution number 2. That turns around and says, so normally what we say is, the war is resolution number 2. The battle is resolution number 1, and the others. What does that mean to us? A government has 4 tiers. That's what we said. National, provincial, urban, that is the councils, and rural. 4 tiers. A government in its 40 years has three arms: executive, judiciary, legislature. Executive has 23 or 26, I think 26 ministries that deal with everything that the government is. 26. And that's where the government stands. It is a product of a constitution. It is the biggest. We, the people of Zimbabwe, are the ultimate. Yeah. This is where, when you hear people saying the voice of the people is the voice of God, what they are, it's a political reference. It's a concept that turns around and says that when God turns around and speaks, he makes things, or he or she makes things appear. Let it be light, and there was light. Let there be water, and there was water. Let there be humans, and there were humans. There was one human. Ripu, evil, speaks, things happen. The people of Zimbabwe as an entity, as a singular entity, we have to understand this, and this is a concept that we have to quickly grasp. That we, as Zimbabwean people, in our multitudes, 18 million, 20 million, whatever number it is, we are cells as individuals. We are cells that belong to a body called we, the people of Zimbabwe, a singular body. Cells that function inside. With those cells, they've got a time limit. Those cells are generated, and they are born and they die. Same as I was born and I'm going to die as a cell. But the body called we, the people of Zimbabwe, has no time. Because the cells keep on regenerating. New people are born that make this thing called we, the people of Zimbabwe. This is why when it talks, it makes things happen. It says, let there be a government. And the government appears. And it says, of the government, let there be three arms of government: judiciary, executive, and legislature. And those things exist. That is the body, singular body that speaks. This is why now they say the voice of the people is the voice of God. And from that entity, the powers are derived from it. This is why the judiciary always says we derive our power from the people of Zimbabwe. It means that singular body. It becomes the biggest, the strongest. That's why it produces a supreme document or a supreme wording. Now, it creates this thing called government. Now, in politics, we mimic government the majority of the time. So, ZANU has got something called a revolutionary structure. That means it's a socialist structure. We mimic, and a lot of political parties have that. My party has got a similar structure as well. We mimic government. So we say, because we play in government, we say members of a political party come and join as individuals. Okay, that's good. When they join, these members of a political party, when they speak, these members of a political party create a document called the Constitution. In that organization, it is the supreme document. This is why we say that in between congresses, what are we saying? In between the voices, the gathering of the voices of these people, this entity Yeah, this structure is going to speak in between. It represents the members of the political party. And in there, in the political party, we've got executive, we've got judiciary. Those are the organization. Those are the parts of the organization that deal with disciplinary things. That is our judiciary. We've got the legislature. Those are the ones that deal in between congresses. We've got the cabinet, the one that has the cabinet. If you want to see the cabinet in the political party, especially if you because MTC had a similar thing as well. CCC shifted a bit. You start to see secretary of information. That means in that organization, he is cabinet. He is a member of cabinet in your organization. Secretary of security, Minister of Defense, a Secretary of Finance in your political party, opposite a counterpart in government, Minister of Finance. Yeah, here you say a Secretary of Finance or Treasurer, so on and so forth. And inside that political party, we again mimic the tiers of government. We've got executive,